Nefesh, which is a sacred poem by the Sephardic Jewish poet Rabbi Elazar ben Moshe Azikri, whose family had moved to Ottoman Syria following the expulsion of Jews from Spain. Beloved of the soul, merciful God, bring your servant close to your will. Your servant will run like a gazelle to prostrate before your path. The second piece, appropriate to the Lenten season, is the Syriac Lenten hymn, Kefneth Kmo Zebnin, which means, how many times was I hungry? And this was written by Saint Ephrem the Syrian, Saint Ephrem the Syriac, a renowned 4th century deacon, poet, and theologian. It's a traditional hymn of repentance used in the Syriac Orthodox Church and other Syriac traditions during the Lenten series. Great Lent. Many times I've been hungry because my human nature desired to eat, yet I refrained from eating in order to be worthy of the blessing that awaits those who fast. And the third piece is the Islamic poem Ya Imam al-Rusli, which means, O leader of the messengers, a traditional praise poem dedicated to the Prophet Muhammad, and it's often attributed to the 13th century Sudanese poet and scholar Sheikh Abdul Rahman Rahim al-Bur'i. O cleric of the prophets, after God, you are upon whom I rely from my days to my end. O prophet of God, take my hand.
Test will go to
Allah, Elah, Elohim, all cognates of the same word for the same God of the same Abrahamic faiths. The following piece is actually a Palestinian song called Shayil Shayil Ya Jammali Shayil, which means, carry, carry, O camel driver, I entrust you to God. It's recently referred to as the drone song. You may have seen this because the song went viral in 2025 by the Edward Said Conservatory music teacher Ahmed Mu'in Abu Amsha in Gaza, when he and his students, the Gaza Birds Singing Choir, sang it against the sound of Israeli drones. They listened to the sound of the drones, selected that note, and that was the key that they sang this song to. Out of destruction, they create beauty. It's based on traditional folk-inspired themes of resilience with lyrics in a traditional Palestinian style called tarwida. And this specific version was arranged by Abu Amsha and kind of rearranged by us right now.
If you feel so moved, feel free to hum along with us once we start.
Actually, we should start that way.
We kind of need it.
Yeah. شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوضتك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل ليلي يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوضتك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل ليلي يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا هوتك ضل دم الشهيد معطر بالليل ليلي يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله معطر بالليل يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوضتك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوضتك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوضتك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل يا ليلو ويل ويل عالظالم ويل ويل من الله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله لا سهر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله. Thank you. The following is a medley of Palestinian folk songs. The first is Haddi ya Bahar, which means calm down, O sea. And it's a traditional Palestinian folk song made popular by the singer Abu Arab. It's a song of resistance, reflecting themes of struggle and the longing of displaced Palestinians to return to their homes. The second song in the medley is Wallah laz'arak bid-dar, which means, I swear I will plant you in the house, O green almond branch. and it's a popular song of resistance and connection of the Palestinian people to the land. The lyrics are written by the Haifa-born Palestinian poet Ahmad Dahbour, and the melody is attributed to the renowned Jerusalemite composer Hussein Nezik.
يعود اللون تتنور فيها وتكبر يا اللوز الأخضر نادي فلسطين الخضرا بلادي يا اللوز الأخضر نادي فلسطين الخضرا بلادي بدولي هالأيادي حتى بلادي تتحرر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر واروي هالأرض بدمي تتنور فيها وتكبر كرم الجبل الموجود في الشمس الحمراء على طول كرم الجبل الموجود بالشمس الحمراء على طول من عرش جدادي مشغول لتراب الوطن الأطهر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر واروي هالأرض بدمي تتنور فيها وتكبر جربت غنى الصفدي غزة والبير بلدي جربت غنى الصفدي غزة والبير بلدي والقدس بيد ولدي عوعك عني تتأخر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر والله لزرعك بالدار يعود اللوز الأخضر واروي هالأرض بدمي تتنور فيها وتكبر واروي هالأرض بدمي تتنور فيها وتكبر
Thank you. So the following song is called Unadikum, which means I call out to you. The song was written in 1966, not by just anybody, but the Palestinian poet and mayor of Nazareth, Tawfiq Ziad. The song melody was composed and released in the late 70s by Lebanese artist Ahmed Kabour and instantly became an anthem of solidarity and resistance for people of the Levant. Unadikum, I call to you. I kiss the ground beneath your feet, and I say to you that I will free you.
أناديكم أشد على أياديكم أبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم.
أناديكم وأهديكم ضياء عيني وأفتى القلب يعطيكم وأهديكم ضياء عيني ودفء القلب يعطيكم فمأساة الذي أحيا نصيبي من مآسيكم وأهديكم ضياء عيني ودفء القلب يعطيكم فمأساة التي أحيا نصيبي من مآسيكم أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم أنا ما هنت في وطني ولا سخرت أكتافي أنا ما هنت في وطني ولا سخرت أكتافي وقفت بوجه ظلامي يتيما عاريا حافي أنا ما هنت في وطني ولا سخرت أكتافي وقفت بوجه ظلامي يتيما عاريا حافي أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم حملت دمي على كفي وما نكست علامي حملت دمي على كفي وما نكست علامي وصنت العشب الأخضر فوق قبور أسلافي حملت دمي على كفي وما نكست علامي وصنت العشب الأخضر فوق قبور أسلافي أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم أناديكم أشد على أياديكم وأبوس الأرض تحت نعالكم وأقول أفديكم أناديكم 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 أناديكم.
So we have one more for you before we invite our esteemed guest today, Abuna Father, Dr. Reverend Mitri Raheb. This is a song that has become very popular, especially, it's been very popular, but it's sung at almost every single gathering, especially for the past 2 years. Well, now, 3 years. And this is a song that sings of resilience. And you can tell just by the first couple of lines in the chorus. It says, "O Mother, my woes. ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادى الفيا." Meaning that basically I'd rather a dagger than to live under tyranny. And so this is a song of resilience. يما مويل الهوى.
يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا
ومشيت تحت الشتاء والشتاء رواني والصيف لما طار ولع مني راني بتضل عمري انفتح لتل الحرية
يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا
يا الليل صاحبنا يشحط على شرابي وينزل جيش العتاب من كل النواحي والليل شاف إرادة عم يتعلم فيها
يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا
بارود الجبل أعلى مني العالي نفتح درب الأمل والأمل برجالي يا شعبنا يا بطل تيجي بعينيا
يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا يما ويل الهوى يما ويليا ضرب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا
درب الخناجر ولا حكم النادل فيا
Thank you so much. All the way to my right, all the way to my left, it's Carl and Sukhon on guitar and vocals, C. Mikhail on bass and vocals, Fedra Darwish on vocals. I'm Ronnie Malley. We are the Sumud Collective. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It really means a lot. And thank you once again to our Saviour's Lutheran Church, to Ben Loss, to Ben Gloss, and everyone here from Bright Stars of Bethlehem. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take just a couple of moments as we transition from concert into lecture and get everything set up. The Samud Collective, I believe, is going to stick around, and they're going to provide some music after Pastor Mitri's talk out in the lobby space as well. So thank you for sharing so many wonderful musical gifts with us. This has been a wonderful start to an already amazing evening. Thank you again, Samud. It's going to take us just a couple of minutes to get transitioned, so please take a moment if you would like to stretch your legs. If you want to say hello to the people around you, you can be friendly if you like. That's entirely up to you. Check, check. Ooh.
Yeah, we'd love to talk. Hi. We'd love to talk to you more about it. One, two, three. It's on. One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two, three.
Not getting anything at all. Are the mains turned on? Check anything. There we go.
Yeah, okay. So now it's better?
Can you hear yourself?
I can hear you, but
I can hear me.
I don't think mine is working.
Can you bring up the...
headset mic. It's under Ben.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
I think
It's
I'm just going to
coming,
give you
it's
this one.
coming.
It's
Okay.
coming a little bit.
A bit, yeah, a bit.
We're not as talented as the Samud Collective when it comes to using microphones, but we're going to give it a try. Well, once again, we thank all of you for being with us tonight. I am Pastor Ben Sloss. I'm one of the pastors here at Our Saviour's Lutheran Church, and we are so honored to host this event, to host Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb, and it is my great honor to introduce Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb to you this evening. And there are many ways that one could do that. You could talk about his more than 50 books published on politics and religion and theology. You could talk about this beautiful university that Reverend Dr. Mitri founded and grew over these past 20 years. You could talk about so many amazing ways that this man is changing the facts on the ground in Palestine and Gaza. But to introduce Reverend Dr. Mitri tonight, I want to do something a little different. I want to tell you about the first time I met Pastor Mitri, and I'm sure you don't remember this story. It was a while ago. In 2008, I had traveled as a tourist to the Holy Land, to Israel and to Palestine, and on one Sunday, I was there with my dad. I was still a college student. We decided we should go to a Lutheran church. We want to be good Lutherans. We should show up to a Lutheran church on Sunday. And so we went to Christmas Lutheran in Bethlehem, this tiny little Lutheran church. And there, in that particular Sunday in June, we sat down in the pews, and there were maybe 40 or 50 people there, some locals, some tourists. And Pastor Mitri was preaching. And he gave a sermon both in Arabic and in English to make sure we all could hear and know what was going on. But then after that, it turns out that was a particular Sunday where their Sunday school had a special program. Here in the United States, we may call it Vacation Bible School Sunday. It was one of those special days. And then all of a sudden, all of these kids come out, and there's maybe a dozen of them, and they have their handmade costumes on, and they're singing songs, and they're parading around. And as soon as that program got done, Pastor Mitri comes out, and I'm pretty sure he put a lot more effort into translating the kids' program for us than he did in translating his own sermon. He told us that they kids were actually acting out Daniel and the lion's den. And they had all of their costumes, and he said, the important thing to know is that our kindergartners, our littlest ones, are the lions. And they are quite fearsome. And if there's one thing you need to know about Mitri is those lions are at the heart of everything he does. Later on that same trip, Mitri told us about the project that they were starting, and sometimes when pastors talk about a building project, they get excited. And they say big, important things like, this new parking lot will help us reach more people with the gospel than ever before, and we get excited. That's what pastors do. Well, Mitri was talking about this building project, and he said, this will be the largest construction project in Bethlehem since Herod the Great. That's a pretty good line. That's a good one. And sure enough, over these past 20 years, that is exactly what has happened in Bethlehem. Amazing things. There's this jewel, Dar al-Kalama, right in the heart of Bethlehem. But what you need to know about all of that is that all of these things are built, all of these things are done, all of this effort is put in not to make some shrine to power, not to make something that is just a testament to what people can do. Everything that is being done right now in Bethlehem and Gaza, across Palestine, is all because of those little lions of Bethlehem. And so I'd like to introduce to you my dear friend, Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ben, for this introduction. Wow, I mean, I think I need to take you with me all the time on the road. You will be the marketing guy. Amazing introduction. And great to be here at our Saviour Lutheran. Thank you for hosting us. And wow, I mean, what a great start with the music. So let's give another big hand for the musicians. Actually, I loved the way they did it, but also the collection they decided to present this evening with the theme of resilience, because I think this is the best introduction into our evening tonight. So this seems to be working, I think. You can hear me. Okay, great. So tonight, actually, I will take you on a journey to Bethlehem. Some of you have been to Bethlehem, others maybe not. And to take you to a very special place that Ben just talked about, and rebuilding hope after the genocide, though we know the genocide is not over yet. It continues, unfortunately. And it continues not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank in a different way, where I live. So Dar el-Kalima actually is the name of our university. The first and only Lutheran university in the Middle East, actually. Believe it or not, in Palestine, we have 54 universities and colleges. Now, guess what? We have 5 million people living in Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, but 54 universities and colleges. I think per capita, this is most probably one of the highest, if not the highest, rate of universities per capita. And this is because Palestinians learned 1948 in the Nakba, when we lost 77% of historic Palestine, when 520 villages were destroyed, that you can lose your land, you can lose your house, but one thing you cannot lose is your education. Because that's here. You will lose it only if you lose your life. And so our fathers and grandparents, they invested a lot in education. But Dar el-Kalima is the first and only university in all of Palestine with a focus on arts, culture, and design. So out of the 54 other universities, there is no other university that said, we want to focus on this. And this is really what makes this university so special. And I think Ben mentioned it. If you think of Dar el-Kalima, it is a social entrepreneurial success story coming from Bethlehem and from Palestine. And you know, we need this success story because sometimes when we look around, all the news are so depressive. It is so easy to lose hope and heart. But whenever tourists actually come to visit Palestine, I always tell them, go and visit all of Palestine. You will get depressed, not because of the Palestinians, but because of the Israeli occupation. And at the end, come to us, because this is a place that actually not only speaks of hope, but this is where hope can be felt on your body, actually. And so this is a success story from Palestine. This is when you come to Dar el-Kalima, this is the first, actually, image that you get once you enter into our compound. And our vision for Dar el-Kalima is that we might have life and have it abundantly. I guess you know this verse, right? This came from one of our compatriots, right? Who was born in the city in which I was born, or I was born in the city in which he was born, right? And it was he that said that he came that we might have life and have it abundantly. Because if you live in Palestine, everything around us, the occupation, the genocide is telling us you will not have life, and definitely it's not going to be abundant. But we always need to remember what actually Jesus said, that he came that we, and by the way, the we includes Palestinians. Sometimes people think the we doesn't include Palestinians. No, he said it to Palestinians to start with. And so we want to focus on that. And our mission statement is to educate the next generation of creative leaders in Palestine. That's our focus. And actually, we chose to invest in the so-called creative class. Creative class is a term that was developed actually by a sociologist, a Canadian sociologist. His name is Florida. He's Canadian, but his name is Florida. And he said that 20% in each society, you have a class of people, around 20%, that are creative. They are so creative that they can develop ideas and transform these ideas into businesses. And so this is actually the group of people that the university wants to focus on. And what a history. I mean, Ben mentioned it quickly. We started in '95 as a small cultural center. I still remember we started with a small room. It was 12 by 12 foot. We had 8 chairs from the 50s that I inherited from my predecessor, one desk from the 60s, an old typewriter. I'm not sure if you remember these old typewriters, yeah, and $327. This is how we started '95. In 2006, to get the accreditation as a community college, offering 2-year degrees. Then 2013, we became a liberal arts college offering bachelor degrees. And 2021, we became a full-fledged university. Now, it sounds easy. You know, to start a university in any place of the world is not easy. Now, to start it in Palestine is a miracle, which we cannot do. And thanks God that the Lord was very active in Palestine as he was 2,000 years ago. So we have 4 colleges. We have still the community college where we offer the 2-year degrees. We have the College of Visual and Performing Arts. So the musicians made me feel at home this evening, but also cultural management. We have the College of Architecture and Design, which is the largest college, and we have the graduate schools where we offer master degrees. For us, actually, at the university, gender justice is very important. So if you look at our board, 50% are women. I have 3 vice presidents right now. All of them are women, so 100%. I guess we can compete here with any school, even in the United States, when it comes to gender justice. Deans, we used to be 50%, now 25%, staff 49%, and 66% to two-thirds of our students are women. And this is very important for our ministry. This last year was a very special year. We opened actually Rami Zahikuri Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which means we don't want our students and our graduates to sit there waiting for somebody to hire them, but we want them to develop their own business ideas and to work, which is not easy in the arts, as you can imagine. But really, many of them are excelling in this. And we opened our new Hospitality Educational Center. Again, another state-of-the-art building. I hope many of you will come and have a meal there and experience Palestinian hospitality. Again, all what you see here in terms of architecture was designed by our teachers, because we say we cannot hire foreign architects if we are teaching architecture. And so each building is actually designed by another of our teachers so that everyone feels that they are leaving their signature at this place. And our campus is to 90% powered by solar energy. You know, God gave us lots of sun, shine in Palestine, not like Chicago, the windy city. And so we wanted to invest in that. And this is our commitment also to the environment, which is stretched. I mean, the environment is in a very bad shape, but this is at least what we can do in this university. So this is just to introduce you to Dar al-Kalima very quickly, but I would like to come in the second part to talk about the context in which we live. I didn't want to start with the context. Usually as a theologian, I start with the context. But I wanted to be careful because if I start with the context, you will be depressed quickly. Because the context is very challenging. And this is where hope actually is challenged. So, how to describe what is going on in Gaza, in the West Bank, actually in the entire historic Palestine. Some people call it occupation, but occupation doesn't really tell the story. The best term to use to understand what's happening there is settler colonialism. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this terminology, settler colonialism, but this is what happened in this country 400 years ago, right? Because in settler colonial setting, settlers, always European settlers, by the way, to 90%. European settler, in this case, Jewish European settler, go to another country, not to live with the indigenous people, but to replace them. So what's happening in Gaza is really to kick out the Palestinians from Gaza. That was the plan. And to replace them. And you saw, I think, what President Trump had, the Riviera of, right? Kushner, his son-in-law, had that AI-developed picture of Gaza. And in the West Bank, the same thing, and you will see it now. So if you look at historic Palestine in a map, you can see actually how the Israeli settlers were taking over more and more and more land by military power. And so you can see how the country is becoming blue. But what this map does not show is that still, in historic Palestine, we have 6.5 million Jewish people and 6.5 million Palestinian people, both Christians and Muslims. So two groups, the same size, but unequal rights. Benjamin Netanyahu, who is right now, not right now, he's over 20 years prime minister, right? With this current government, this is what he said. This is from one of his tweets. He said, "These are the basic lines of the national government headed by me. The Jewish people have an exclusive and unquestionable rights to all the areas of historic Palestine." When you read the land of Israel, it means historic Palestine, which means I, as a Christian, whose family has been living there for 2,000 years, have no right to be there because it's only exclusive for Jewish people. And if you question it, you are called anti-Semite, right? And he continues, "The government will promote and develop settlement, which means colonies, in all parts of historic Palestine, in Galilee, Negev, Golan, Judea, and Samaria, and Judea meaning Bethlehem." And so we can see actually how more and more colonies are being built inside Bethlehem. The last one actually just a month ago, they started the newest colony in Beit Sahur, which is one of the Christian towns in the area. So we feel actually living in a big prison. We used to say Gaza is the largest open-air prison. Now every town is a prison. And so the prison is not the exception for us. Unfortunately, it is the rule. Believe it or not, since 1967, over 1 million Palestinians have been in Israeli prisons. Remember, we are 5 million. 1 million were in prison, which means 20% of the population. And these are political prisoners. I mean, these are not terrorists, these are not criminals, these are political prisoners. And so, as a pastor, I had to deal with this issue that several of our church elders at the church, several of our youth group were actually taken and imprisoned. But now, in the last year, the situation became even worse. Right now, there are over 1,200 checkpoints and iron gates in the West Bank, separating one town from another. These checkpoints and iron gates, they look like this. So imagine Bethlehem, this is the little town of Bethlehem, has 56 of them. So 56 checkpoints and iron gates surrounds Bethlehem. So you cannot come into Bethlehem or out of Bethlehem without actually going through one of those. And sometimes you have to wait hours to let you through. And all of them, all of these iron gates are actually operated with remote control, which means an Israeli general sitting somewhere can open or close all 1,200 gates by the push of the button. And you never know which gate is open when. So if I want to go from Bethlehem to another town, I need to look at this app that Palestinians developed, and they tell me, you can see it, green means it's open, red means it's closed. And this is updated every 15 minutes. But imagine if I read it now and it says that checkpoint between here and we came now from Lombard. So if we were to travel from Lombard to here, if this was in Palestine, you would have to go maybe through 12 checkpoints. And when I open it and it says, okay, the one to Lombard is open, once I get there, it will be closed. And then I have to wait, sometimes hours. So this is the situation in the West Bank, what we call settler colonialism. They want actually to expel us from Palestine. They do everything to make our life miserable so that we say, what's the heck, let's leave. Now in Gaza, the situation is even worse with the genocide. As Dar al-Kalima, we were actually the only university in the West Bank with a campus in Gaza. And when you came to Gaza, this is actually how it looked from the street, our campus. And if you came before October 7th, this is how it looks from inside. So you have there Rana up there. Rana is actually, again, another powerful woman who is the director of our campus there, a young, accomplished artist. Every month, we had the opening of an art exhibition, what you see there. Artwork by Gazan artists. You know, Gaza is full of creative artists. People don't know that. You see our students taking classes in drawing, but also you see the kids. This is these are the lions that Ben was talking about. These are the lions of Gaza. But unfortunately, exactly 2 years ago, during Holy Week 24, that actually Israel bombed our campus, and unfortunately, this is how it looks like from an aerial perspective. The whole campus was destroyed. Thanks God, nobody was there, but we lost during the genocide 2 of our staff, but still we have 46 staff actually operating in Gaza. I mean, you saw these pictures coming out of Gaza, which actually remind you of some other places right, that went through something like this. Even during the genocide, we had over 2,000 students taking classes online. Unfortunately, because of the genocide and because of the internet was not stable, out of the 2,600 were on regular taking classes and were able to finish courses online because they wanted, again, education. But right now, because we don't have the campus, all of our staff are actually doing art therapy with kids. And they are reaching to over 25,000 kids in the camps, all of them displaced. They live in tents, but they said, we will not give up. Now is high time for us to reach out to the kids in this situation. And so I'm not sure if we have Ben sound. Do we have sound? We have sound, okay. So, and they are so creative, you know. I mean, in Gaza right now, you cannot go to a shop and say, we want to buy art supplies. They don't have anything to eat. So they have to be creative. They have to continue to think of new ideas. So what do they have? They have the cans, you know, food cans, because this is now given to them. And this is what they have. They have some paper, and they have their mobiles, but their mobiles, just to charge them, sometimes they have to walk for 2 hours just to get electricity so they can run them. But then this project shows actually how these kids were lighting the camp where the tents are. And so this is done in one of these tents. This whole film was done by kids, by the Lions of Gaza, under the supervision of one of our staff members. And it talks basically about the dream of these kids. What are their dreams? I hope you will read the translation. It's a bit quick, but I hope you will get the gist of it. I think.
والله الواحد مبسوط بهيك لمة وهيك راجعة بوجوه بنعرفها وبنحبها. والله أنا بحب الحياة ونفسي أسافر وأشوف العالم وأشم هوا غير هوا الحار. عارفين بإيش نفسي؟ نفسي ببالون يطير أو أي إشي يحملني وياخدني بعيد بعيد عن الحر. شوفوا طيارة المساعدات. فاكرين قبل الحرب إيش كنا نحلم؟ كنا نحلم إنه نصير رسامات. المس إيمان كانت تحكي إنكم هتكونوا فنانات مشهورات. معقول نعيش ونحقق حلمنا؟ سارة إن شو كان حلمك؟
So this is what kids live. They have their dreams. They want to become famous artists. But the reality actually is that the genocide is destroying their dreams. But we want them to continue to dream. And this is why we are there. Now, if you think of what Israel is doing, this settler colonial project is really enabled and maintained by two things. One, by the hardware. You know, all the toys that Israel gets from the US for free, right? I mean, these jets that you saw were bombing. The jet that bombed our campus in Gaza was a donation from the United States to Israel. Think of this. So that's the hardware. But more difficult than the hardware is the software. And the software actually is produced by certain seminaries, not LSTC, no, but other evangelical seminaries where people think that the Israelites of the Bible and the Israeli today are the same people. Maybe some of you heard Huckabee, the American ambassador to Israel, in his interview with Tucker Carlson. If you haven't, please look it up, where he said, you know, he thinks that he doesn't mind if Israel will occupy the whole Middle East, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq, because God promised them the land from the Nile to the Euphrates. He quoted Genesis 12, which is, so imagine, this is an American politician, but this is a pastor, a Baptist pastor. So this is this weird theology that is being developed that is maintaining, actually, this settler colonial project. And maybe you saw and you heard Netanyahu when he actually announced that the Israeli troops are entering Gaza, he quoted the Bible. And he couldn't find any better quote than 1 Samuel 15:3, where God is telling Saul, God is saying, now go and smite Amalek. Many Israeli, these fundamentalists in Netanyahu government, think that the Palestinians are the Amaleks of the Bible. And so God is saying, smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. And this is exactly what they did in Gaza. They think God is asking them to do that. I mean, what kind of God is this? This is at least not the God that we believe in. But it seems this is the God that Huckabee and many other evangelicals in this country and many other places. So here is Huckabee again with his quote. It would be fine if they took it all, he said in the interview. So that's the context. So let me come to the third part, where art and culture spread hope. I don't want you to leave you depressed, because this is not what a pastor should do, right? You know, culture is not a luxury, because sometimes people think, you know, in this context, why focus on arts, culture, and design? For me, culture is not a luxury, but it is actually, it is very important to keep your sanity, because without it, actually, you become insane, because everything around you is so insane. So, you know, I remember my discussions with many people many years ago. They were always hopeful, like after Oslo, that maybe in 3 years or 5 years we will have our state, we will be free. And I always felt that, unfortunately, in our context, our struggle is not a sprint. Quick you will get to that, but it's a long marathon. Now it's have been going for 100 years. When you are in a marathon, you need to learn how to breathe. Because if you don't breathe well, you are killing yourself. And so culture is the art to breathe. When everything around you is falling apart, it gives you that resilience, it gives you that resistance to continue the journey. But actually, it is also a sacred space where people learn how to breathe freely in a context where the fresh air seems to be almost already used up. You know, if you live in Palestine right now, you don't want to hear anything about politics. People are fed up with politics because politicians have failed them. But when they hear the music that we heard this at the beginning, it lifts their their spirits. It gives them this message, yes, resilience. We will continue to be resilient. This is the fresh air that is really needed in this context where air seems to be almost already used up. But also music, and we saw this, art is really a language that can bring together people from different cultures, from different religions. It gives space for people to be connected in a different way. And actually, this picture is taken from one of our international conferences. This conference ended on October 5th, 2023. Some of you were with us there, and thanks God they left on October 5th, otherwise they would have been stuck with us for a month. But again, bringing like 200 people in this case from all over the world to talk about land and culture was something very important. But also, culture is an important tool for emancipation. At Dar al-Kalima, we started the first female soccer team in Palestine. That is 18 years ago. At that time, people thought, soccer is not for women. But our young lions, the women, said, no, we want to play soccer. And we want to do it well. So we started the first female soccer team. Today, I think in Palestine, there are over 20 female soccer teams. And they do amazing work. I think our team, they won the national championship already 8 times in these 18 years. But also, when they speak to the media, they can tell about the power of women and what a woman can achieve. As pastors, we don't get that much attention in the media. I'm not sure pastors here, but very seldom we are quoted in the media. But these girls, they have every day a full page. And they can really talk about issues that in a much more powerful way and authentic way than I can do it. And I noticed the same thing actually in the films, in many films that our students were doing. Here just 3 films that where they talk about their struggle as women in a patriarchal society. And again, film can tell that story in a much more powerful way than giving a lecture about it. Films are one of the most actually powerful tools for communication. I always say when we do lectures like this, you get 50 people, almost like tonight. Now in this setting is a bit different, but in most settings, 40 out of the 50, they don't need to be there because they know everything, right? They are there to support you. So they are the converted. Tonight we don't have many converted, thanks God. And 5 are there maybe by mistake. Somehow they ended up there. You don't know how. And the other 5, they are there to make problems. But a film can reach millions in a very creative way. For example, this film called Vibrations from Gaza, which was directed by one of our professors, Raheb Nazzal. She was in Gaza 2 months before October 7th. And the film actually talks about the deaf children in Gaza. In Gaza, the Israeli fly their drones 24/7. I'm not sure if you heard the drone. This is like zzz, 24/7. You cannot sleep, you cannot concentrate. But how does this affect deaf children who cannot hear the voice? But their bodies feel the vibrations. And this whole film is about that. Very powerful film, received already 18 international awards within the first year. But also, art could be a very important tool for economic empower. We have our students and graduates producing handmade art that is actually sold on the internet worldwide, and they can earn a living through that. But also, culture is an important tool to resist a rager. You know, in Gaza, what happened? Israel not only destroyed the 14 universities, including ours, 70% of the school, which we call solasticide, but also they destroyed all cultural centers. In fact, they started with bombing the cultural centers before anything else. They destroyed all museums we had in Gaza with all of these ancient pieces that we have, because they want to erase our history and culture as if we don't exist and we never existed. This is their aim. And this is why culture actually can be a tool to resist a rager, and right now we are working actually to try to document even the destroyed pieces of art in Gaza, and in fact outside you can see some of those pieces. It was Edward Said, a Palestinian Christian Protestant, in his conversation on culture and resistance, he said, in the case of a political identity that is being threatened, this is the case in Palestine, culture is a way of fighting against extinction and obliteration. Culture is a form of memory against effacement. And this is why Dar al-Kalima is so important and so crucial exactly now. So let me come to the last part. Hope is what we do. This is actually the slogan of Bright Stars of Bethlehem, and I hope you will hear a bit more about Bright Stars of Bethlehem in a minute. So hope is not waiting there for hope to come, but hope is what we do. And you will see from what we do that we are a very hopeful people in spite of the hopeless situation we live in. And just to give you why this is important and what we do. You know, I served as senior pastor at Christmas Lutheran Church for 30 years. This is what Ben mentioned. And some of you maybe came and visited us. How many did come to maybe to Bethlehem, to our church? Okay, some of you. And you know, we have these beautiful stained glass windows that you can see in the picture. But if you looked at these stained glass windows, you would think Jesus was either Scandinavian or Irish, right? With his blue eyes and blonde hair. I mean, for God's sake, this is in Bethlehem, this is in Palestine, this is where it's all started. But these German missionaries brought this white Jesus to Palestine. We exported Jesus to the world, but now they brought us a totally different Jesus. And so this is why, actually, it was important not only to develop contextual theology, which I write about all the time, but also to develop contextual Christian art. And so, for example, the birth of Christ in a Palestinian setting. Actually, I commissioned this piece by a Muslim artist from Bethlehem. Most probably, this is how it was 2,000 years ago. Or the Last Supper in a Palestinian, not the Da Vinci one. Forget about that. Right? This is much more closer to the reality. So it's important to develop contextual Christian art. But one of the very exciting projects we are working on is we have a degree in restoration of old icons and old paintings. You know how many old icons we have in Palestine? And they all threaten to decay. And so we started the first of its kind laboratory to do that, actually not only in Palestine, in the whole Middle East. And our graduates started actually restoring the Greek Orthodox Church in Beit Jala. And this is what they are doing. The interesting thing is that if you look at the picture, these are, again, mainly women. the majority of them are Muslims. So you have Palestinian Muslim women restoring icons at a Greek Orthodox church. But this can only happen in Palestine. But also, it is important to empower the next generation of artists. So we started several awards for young emerging artists. So one, for example, in photography, and we called it in the name of Karima Aboud, the first female photographer in the entire Arab world. She started her career in the 1920s. How many female photographers were there in the US in the 1920s? But not only that, this Palestinian woman, she's a PK, by the way. You know what PK is? She's a pastor's kid. So her father was a Lutheran pastor, one of my predecessors. She ran 4 studios at the same time. One studio in Bethlehem in her home, another one in Jerusalem where she worked, one in Nazareth and one in Haifa where her relatives lived. And she would actually drive with her own car in the 1920s from one studio to the other to do that. I mean, thinking of entrepreneurship, you know, when I think of, you know, all of these groups who want to empower women in Palestine, we can send many women missionaries to many countries in the world to empower women there because we had all of these powerful women. But this powerful woman was not known in Palestine. Nobody knew about her. I didn't know about her. It was by chance that somebody came to me in 2011 and said, Pastor, I want to ask if this woman buried in your cemetery? I said, you know, the family name Aboud is I know that because one of our pastors, his name was Aboud, but Karima, I'm not sure. Let me check. And so I checked, and indeed she was buried in our cemetery. He said, you know, I found a photograph with her stamp on the back. She was great in marketing, by the way, because she stamped every picture that she did. And this actually got me on a research project for 1.5 years. I went from one archive to the other worldwide, trying actually to find more about her. During the day, I was thinking of Karima. During the night, I was dreaming of Karima. Thanks God she was dead, because otherwise I would have been divorced, dreaming of another woman at night. So we published a book about her story. 4 films have been already actually produced about her, including Al Jazeera documentary did a 1-hour film about her. And 5 years ago, on her birthday, we were surprised that Google celebrated her birthday. You know, when you open Google, you have always like a picture. So imagine from a woman that was nobody knew about her to be in Google. This is exactly what actually Dar al-Kalima stands for. If you think of 2002, for example, these are the 3 top young artists that won the first, second, and third prize. By the way, in that year, all of them were from Gaza. The one to the right, that young man is missing since November 23. So either he is still under the rubble, or the Israeli took him in custody as hostage, and he's in Israeli prison. So he's missing. That is Muhammad. In the middle, Nidal was actually murdered when Israel struck the food truck. I think you heard this in the States. You remember when Israel bombed the food truck? He was there trying to get some food, so he died, was murdered. And the third one actually was able to get out of Gaza and became an influencer. Some of you maybe follow him. His name is Mu'taz. Mu'taz actually keeps sending pictures right now from Gaza and other places telling the story of the people in Gaza. So here you have, just by chance, 3 stories of 3 individuals. One is missing, one is murdered, and one became influencer. We have also an award in paintings, again supporting young artists. Here you can see. But also film is really big. 2 of our students made it all the way to Cannes Film Festival. In fact, Wissam, that you see in the middle, got the 3rd prize at Cannes Film Festival out of over 2,000 young filmmakers worldwide. And both of them actually, who went to Cannes, they come from the Dheisheh refugee camp, which is the largest refugee camp in Bethlehem. So again, empowering people from the refugee camp to the red carpet. This is again another story that comes out of Dar al-Kalima. You heard this last month about several films that were nominated for the Oscar. One of them, called Palestine 36, was nominated by the State of Palestine. All That's Left of You was nominated by Jordan. Actually, in both those films, 9 of our students worked on those 2 films that were nominated for the Oscar. And again, these young people that sometimes feel so hopeless and helpless, when they are able to tell their story through film, they feel empowered. They feel they have agency. And this is really what Dar al-Kalima is all about. The present that you can actually see on Netflix, also 8 of our students worked on that film as well. But since we started with music, let me, towards the end with music. One of our professors, Mu'tasim, actually wrote the first compendium on Palestinian ethnomusicology. Again, documenting our heritage of music, Palestinian music, is so important. And this book came just 3 months ago. And it is really the first time that this is documented in this way. Let me just maybe show also this story of Munir. Munir that you see here in the picture actually graduated with his master's degree in contemporary art just this last month. Munir spent 7 years in Israeli prison. I started talking about prison. As political prisoners again. And I loved his master thesis. His master thesis examined the visual expression of artwork of Palestinian political prisoners in Israeli detention camps and prisons, as these creative products are loaded with symbols and meanings that signify continuity of resistance to systemic incarceration. He interviewed 50 actually prisoners and looked at their artwork and analyzed their artwork. Amazing work from somebody who was in prison. Nobody else can actually tell the story of prisoners except somebody who was in prison, knows exactly what they are talking about. And I chose these 2 actually paintings that came out of the prison. And I was struck by this one with the 3 crucified people. Actually, this is a Muslim prisoners, but he had there the cross. Because if, as a Palestinian, you are looking for one symbol that best tell your story as Palestinians, you will not find any other and better symbol than the cross. The cross tell actually our story. And so this is why the cross and Palestine are almost synonymous. But in that context, art and music therapy becomes very important. So we started the first master's degree in art and music therapy, and trying really to do cutting-edge research, also using AI. You know, in this country, you talk about PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Since 100 years, we are never in the post because the trauma continues. And this needs a totally different approach, scientific approach. And so this is what actually our professors are working on right now. And this is the first book in music therapy that was written ever in Arabic by one of our professors, and we published this, as you can see, maybe 6 months ago. And so celebrating Palestinian creativity is important. You know, with all this trauma, with all of this genocide, settler colonialism, it's important to continue to celebrate the creativity of our people, because once we stop celebrating, we are dead. And this is another book that we published 3 months ago that highlights the work of 22 female artists from Gaza. 2 of them were murdered, 6 came out of Gaza, they live in the diaspora, the rest are in Gaza, and actually you can see outside some of the paintings that are in this book. And this book will be available soon also on Amazon. The first edition was sold within 1 month, the whole edition, and now we are working on the second edition. And the last slide, when we talk about hope, we are committed to rebuilding and to rebuild our campus. We want to be one of the first to rebuild that. That is our commitment to our people, because destruction should not have the last word. Actually, creativity should have the last word. Not hopelessness, but hope should have the last word. But remember, hope is what we do. Thank you very much.
Okay, with hope being what we do, I am the executive director of Bright Stars of Bethlehem, Tracy Bergman, and we are the fundraising arm for Dar al-Kalama, and we are here to ask you to do hope with us. You took that first step, you're all here tonight, but that's just the start. There are several things we could use your help with. A, we need you to pray. We can't overstate how beneficial prayer is, but there are other things we need. If you can travel and go and see that beautiful university and our students and walk alongside Palestinians, we need you to do that as well. If you saw those beautiful films, feel inspired, and want to take those back to the communities you're in, do a film screening. We can help you connect to those. I wouldn't be doing my job tonight if I did not tell you that you have these beautiful, beautiful envelopes at the end of your pews, and I promise that there are pens as well to fill them out. If you feel so inspired, please help support this mission. Our students need scholarships, they need new film equipment. The average annual cost of educating a student at the university is about $7,000. We only ask students to pay about $2,500. So you can see there's kind of a gap there that we need to make up to keep this education going. And if we didn't mention it earlier, there are 550 students at the Bethlehem campus right now. And that's, again, not counting everything we are doing in Gaza. If you want more information, including about the Lilies of Gaza, which we will be promoting on our social media, our website, our newsletter, all of March for Women's History Month, please sign up. You can go to brightstarsbethlehem.org, you can sign up for our newsletter, you can find all of our social media channels, because we will be telling those female artists' stories the entire month. And you really need to hear what they've been through and what inspires them. Along with that, when we wrap up, we will still have questions for Mitri, so be sitting there thinking of your questions while I finish this up. When we wrap up tonight, we invite you to come out to the gallery and open one of the first physical exhibits here in the United States. We'll have one here until March 8th. We're going to have another in Arizona and one up in Minnesota. So hopefully you will be inspired by that beautiful artwork. And if you need some reading, especially when it is dark and cold outside and you don't want to leave your house, we can help with that too. In case you don't remember, Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb has been editor, contributor, author of 56 books now. I promise we did not bring all 56. They get a little heavy. I believe we have 4 of his titles right now. We're happy to sell them to you. And Mitri will be out afterwards to personally sign your books. So with that, I think we have some time to take a couple questions, if anybody has been sitting here thinking of them. And while we're taking Q&A, you can fill out, again, those beautiful envelopes, and we will come collect them. If you have a question, I will gladly bring the mic to you.
Pastor, it's an honor to be here tonight. A geography question. Bethlehem is within Israel. Therefore, the Bethlehem campus was not on, or was it?
No, Bethlehem is not in Israel. Bethlehem actually is in the West Bank, which is supposed to be under Palestinian control.
Okay.
But only 14% of our land are under our control, and now even not under our control with the latest Israeli policy that they announced just last week. Even the 14% is not under our control. So it is occupied by Israel. That's the term.
Does the campus remain intact in Bethlehem?
Yes, it is intact, and we continue actually, as you see, we keep growing the campus.
And the devastation, which was so shocking, that's in the campus in Gaza.
Yes, exactly.
Where in Gaza is that?
That was in the city of Gaza, actually in the city center, not far from the hospital, Al-Shifa hospital that you heard about maybe a lot in the news, just 1 block away from that hospital. But really in the center of Gaza, because we wanted it to be on one of the main roads so that students from all over can access easily through public transportation.
Thank you.
You are welcome. By the way, we have here also someone who did his PhD about Dar al-Kalima, so he can tell you more also about that.
What other questions do we have? Don't be shy. We don't bite, I promise.
What are the languages of instruction?
Arabic and English are the 2 main languages that we use there.
I noticed the beautiful shawls that people were wearing. Do they have a symbolic meaning?
Yeah, actually, you know, Palestinian embroidery is very rich. Every village has its own pattern. And at Dar al-Kalima, this is something I didn't talk about. We have 3 major collections, art collections, 2 paintings, and we have the largest embroidery collection in Palestine. It's the 2nd largest in the world. And if you look at it, the symbols are amazing because they talk about some from the agriculture, other religious symbols, other cultural symbols. Yeah, very, very rich. If you come to Dar al-Kalima, you will just be stunned by this collection that we have. You can spend a whole day just looking at them. By the way, you can also see that, some of those, at our website, Dar al-Kalima website. We have some of them actually there.
Good evening, Pastor. My name is Robert Smith. I'm the recently installed Dean at the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. One of the challenges that all institutions of higher education face here in the U.S. is accreditation. Just a major concern all the time. And I'm wondering about the accreditation structure for the university. And the reason I'm wondering that is its sustainability within the Palestinian context. And also, if you would say a word about the Palestinian Authority's response to this beautiful project and the support I hope you've received from the PA.
Yeah, thank you. Reverend Dr. Robert, by the way, is also a pastor, and congratulations. He was installed just last week as Dean of Lutheran School of Theology. So, yeah, and Robert actually spent 5 years or more, 4 years in Palestine, so he knows the situation very well. But yeah, that's a good question because, you know, I mean, as I said, starting a university is not easy because first you have to create the infrastructure, which you saw. You have to assemble the staff. When we started, we didn't have anyone with PhD in art or PhD in film. So we had to send many people abroad to do their higher education and to come back. And by the way, all of them came back. But also we have to do the accreditation. So we have 28 programs that we accredited. And you know, just to get the accreditation as a university, you know, that paperwork was 1,500 pages. And it took us like 2 years to work on it. It's very tedious work. But then each program you have to accredit. And you have to show that it's feasible, that it makes sense, and that it's sustainable, which is not easy in Palestine to do anything that is sustainable. And so there is a unit that is a bit independent from the Ministry of Higher Education in Palestine that do the accreditation. And actually they are very supportive of Dar al-Kalima because it is unique. We are not actually repeating any program that any other university offers. That's the uniqueness. And so everything is really special. And yeah, I will not tell you now the whole story, Robert. I think you wanted me to tell the story, but actually, you know, yeah, the Palestinian Authority was very supportive because when we started with this idea of Dar al-Kalima, we didn't actually have the land for it. But we hired one of the most well-known Italian architects. His name is Portuguese. We brought him to Bethlehem. We showed him a land that didn't belong to us and say, we would like you to develop a master plan for this mountain because we want to have here a university. And with this master plan, I went to President Arafat and say, we want to do this university and we need this land. We got it at the end of the day, but it wasn't that easy, but.
Thank you for coming. It's a very inspiring speech. You know, with the unique challenges that obviously the genocide creates, have you found any kind of support in, you know, like interfaith groups within Palestine, or even, you know, are there any liberal Jewish organizations in the state of Israel that is sympathetic to the causes that you can speak to? You know, because I imagine it's quite an endeavor to take this on.
I mean, you know, first of all, when it comes to Palestinian Muslims, I mean, 2/3 of our staff are Muslim. You know, the director of our campus in Gaza, she's Muslim. Again, you wouldn't think of that Muslim woman artist that looks like that from Gaza, but this is our people. And so they have been involved from day one with us. But also we have some connections to certain Jewish groups, and especially many in this country. In fact, in all our conferences, we have always Jewish scholars participating. This is for us important. In fact, tomorrow afternoon, I'm meeting with one of these Jewish scholars. We are planning together a conference on a very interesting topic. You know, we love all of these topics that come out of Dar al-Kalima. The name of the conference or of the research is Decolonizing Interfaith. So yeah, we do that. But we do it in a way that really is justice-oriented and not, you know, let's hug each other and forget about the reality. You know, we need, as people of faith, to look the reality in the eyes, but to try to find people who would like to fix this. And this is our approach. Okay, maybe one last question, and then I know you are ready to go and see the exhibition and buy the books. So I saw here there are two. We take the two maybe together, and then.
Mitri, you alluded in your presentation to some recent expansions and improvements at the university. The beautiful glass dome restaurant, which also comes along with a professional grade, very large training kitchen for the culinary students, which is great. And you mentioned the entrepreneurial hub. Do you have any near-term plans for future expansion at all and improvements in the school? Because you're all about hope, so I thought maybe that's where you were headed.
Yeah, actually, we are embarking on another building, which will house the College of Architecture and Design, because this is where the majority of our students are, and we don't have that building yet. So hopefully, we are right now working on the plans for that. You know. In 2001, when Bethlehem was besieged, and we were under curfew 24/7. After 2 weeks under curfew, nobody was able to reach us. The first person to be allowed to enter into that area was Ben Wiedemann from CNN. And, you know, at that time, the Israeli actually bombed our center in Bethlehem, the gate of our home, etc. And he asked me, Pastor, don't you get angry when you see that what you have built in 7 years was destroyed in 11 hours. I said, you know, pastors are human beings, so we get angry. But I told him, every time we get angry, we start a new project. He said, okay, you must be a very angry man to have all of these projects. So yeah, we cannot stop without projects because, again, you know, these are symbols of hope. When people are leaving, when people are depressed and think, you know, everything is hopeless. It's like, you know, the prophet Jeremiah, when Jerusalem was destroyed and people thought it's over. What did he do? He didn't preach so much. He sent his cousin to buy a piece of land in Jerusalem. Who would buy a piece of land when everything is destroyed? But that buying the land at that moment was exactly what people wanted to see, not only to hear, that somebody is investing at a time when people think it's crazy to invest now. But a crazy world like ours needs crazy people like us, because Imagine if we leave the word to the real crazy people, and there are so many of them right now, also in this country. So thank you very much.
Again, thank you all for coming tonight to join us. Thank you to the Smooth Collective for the music, which they will provide more of when we go out there. Again, please take a minute to see the artwork, the Lilies of Gaza exhibit. I believe there's also some very light refreshments. And if you have donation envelopes, you can hand them off to me. You can hand them to Karen, who's back at the table selling the books, or Tala, who I think has managed to make her way out there as well. And we will get Mitri out there to start signing books. Thank you so much.